Vice was talking to the bench, the hacksaw to the broom. "There's rumour here," the hammer said. "Our master's soon to go." A nail said very quietly, "I'm feeling rather low. But who will come to take his place?" Said the chisel to the pliers, "Good teachers do not come on trees, and can't be bought from Myers." Why should he leave us all alone, and care for us no more? "I guess he does deserve a rest," said the bench stool to the saw. "He's worked so hard for 9 long years. Now don't create a fuss. You know he won't forget the school, and he certainly won't forget us. We always will remember him. He had such a kindly manner. He cared for kids as well as us," said the chuck kid to the spanner. "There are 2 things I'll remember," said the plane, "as I grow older. They're the smile upon his sun-tanned face, and the shavings on his shoulder." Was then the room fell silent, save a whisper from some wire. "Guy, we wish you health and happiness as you leave us to retire."
Our next poem comes from Yolanda. This poem was inspired by conversations she had with her ageing mum, which put her mind to thinking about the ageing process and passing through the different stages of life and getting to a place of peace and acceptance with those stages.
This poem is called "In the Midnight of Our Days." In the midnight of our days, we will look back and reminisce upon the dawn of days gone by, a time of innocence and bliss. In awe a child with eyes of wonder, the world a playground to explore. So much to learn and time to see, each day another open door. We'll see a girl become a woman, a body slender, full of grace. Skin aglow with art, with fervent youth, with not a line upon her face. Life's seasons we will travel through, unfolding story never known, within us bursting at the seams, nurturing dreams not fully grown. Did we achieve all that could be? Follow paths that did us teach? Were mountains climbed and rivers swum? The end of rainbow did we reach? In the midnight of our days, we will reflect on life well lived. Mistakes we made along the way, but we gave all we had to give. A journey filled with ups and downs, exciting roller coaster ride. Not always what anticipated, but never did we run and hide. In the midnight of our days, surrounded by serenity, having learnt to love ourselves, shed the need for vanity, our reflection we will see, hair peppered with strands of grey, wisdom lining eyes and face, telling stories on the way. Finally, we'll have found peace as we sit in contemplation, comfortable and understanding, for we'll have reached our destination.
Our next poem is from Graham, and when I asked him about his inspiration for writing this poem, he said it was inspired by finding crumbs in his socks.
This is rather predictably called Crumbs. I found some crumbs in my sock today, and that's not something I ever thought I'd say. And while it's true I'm not the world's best remover of fluff and stuff with a dustpan or hoover, I'd have thought that inside a toaster or under the table would be the places where a keen observer was able to spot a speck or a scrap from my mealtime detritus, or might as likely find some rice down the back of the sofa. While not nice, is not unexpected in the home of a loafer, but in one of my socks. That's a whole new dimension. Talking of which, while I've got your attention, if half of our socks disappear in the wash, you know, slip through the space-time continuum, why can't it be the ones with the breadcrumbs with it? No, those socks are resilient. Or brilliant. And evilly conspire to remain lurking, golem-like, in the darkest recesses of my woolly attire.
Next up is Daryl, and his poem was written during COVID. He wanted to try something in a limerick style, and he wanted to think about what was a pretty dark time for a lot of us and for a lot of people, and he wanted to think about it with some humour and bring some humour to that memorable time in history.
This is called Corona Mona. It was long, long, long ago, March 2020. Talking about this is going to test my memory. I was about to head off to the music festival. I felt pretty good, really well. I really couldn't go far wrong. All I wanted was a little melody and song. The festival was mainly an older crowd, with bad backs and walking sticks about. I thought I'd mix it with the grey wind set, all them old oldies who aren't dead yet. Then bugger it, all of a sudden, I was starting to feel as sick as hell. All I could do was cough and splutter, wheeze and sneeze, and my nose seemed to be running away from me. Nothing else to do but to stay home and write a bloody poem. And this is what I wrote at that time. Some of it might even like. You won't believe it, but I'm 74. This is a bit dated. So I can't go out the door. I'm thinking of you all as I pace up and down the hall. I really miss her. I want to see her. She says, I'm afraid not, dear. I can't help myself. I keep on insisting. She says, no, we must practice social distancing. Surely a little kiss, I say, won't harm us, as I watch Home and Away in my pyjamas. Nowadays it's more home than away. Please, I want to go out and play. Look, I say, you know I have no other loves, and I promise to wear a mask and gloves. I've always been a bit of a loner, even in years BC, before Corona. But now I'm feeling a little depressed. Well, I suppose I don't have to get dressed. You know, I really did have some other plans. Now I guess I'll spend the evening washing my hands. To be honest, this lockdown's not all that bad. I've spent a lot of time being a virtual granddad. And I've found books on my shelf that I never really knew I had. Some of those books were only there to impress, such as existentialism in the modern age. I mean, to be frank, I haven't turned a page. Now, in this period of lockdown, when you can't go out in the town, and you're stuck in a room, and all you can do is Zoom, it might be time to examine my life goals and practice a spot of transcendental meditation. As long as you have enough toilet rolls. Otherwise, you may have to practice constipation. But as for me, I don't really give a stuff. Courtesy of Aldi, I've more than enough. You may know I'm fortunate enough to be retired, so I'm probably not going to get fired. But my son said to his boss, please don't fire us. You know, nobody's going to hire us, certainly not during this bloody virus. His debts are getting steeper, and he can't even get JobKeeper. Anyway, I better go. There's a lot to do now that I'm stuck here at home. Don't know why I keep coming back to this bloody poem. But before I go, what I'll say, whatever you do, don't give way. Soon we'll be able to go out and play, but until that happens, if you're feeling lonely, and you want to get cuddly and snuggly, there's only one thing I ask. For heavens above, wear a mask. And particularly if you're ugly.
Our next poem is coming from Sashi. Sashi was a big fan of the author who wrote this poem, and he wrote it when his first child was due to be born. The poem was to be a wish for his future baby, but in his writing and in Sashi's enjoying of it, she saw that it was really a wish for all mankind, and Sashi felt it was a real benediction for her, and hopefully you will feel the same way and get the same feeling from it.
Wonderful by Harry Baker. May you always picture where you are as where you're meant to be. May you take in your surroundings like you visited especially. We all end up in the soil eventually, so may you carry such goodness that it nourishes for centuries. May you see life as a show, and may the entry fee be empathy, sat front row with an empty seat for friends in need. When you're on form, be generous with that energy. When you're not sure, be gentle with yourself. And don't forget to breathe. You need not be defined by your many feats. You are not a centipede. There is joy in doing something terribly. May you share bruise and bruises, and may you do this tenderly. You are the most improved you that you've ever been. Of all the words you hear, excuse me, remember these. Life is too short to eat celery. Life is too long to feed jealousy, and life is likely just the right length to need therapy. May you be seriously silly and be wickedly kind. May you be brilliantly dumb sometimes and yet stupidly bright. May you certainly have doubts, and may your weirdness be the norm. May the coolest thing about you be your warmth. May you be powerfully vulnerable, or at least mightily soft. May you be a contradiction and yet at the same time not. And whether you are any, none, or all of the above all, may you know that you are loved. May you understand that it's okay to change your mind, and I thank you in advance for all the ways you're changing mine. May you always make room for playfulness. It may just save your life. And trust that whatever makes your heart grow cannot be a waste of time. It may not make you money, it may not even make sense. But if it makes you happy, then it's worth it in the end. And it is worth it at the time. It deserves your very best. And you are never too busy to catch your breath. Just as you cannot be in traffic without being traffic, life is not something you're stuck in while it happens. There is more in you than you could possibly imagine. The very fact that you exist makes everything a bit more magic. When it all feels too much and there's little you can do, may you still see the best in people, and may people include you. May one thing match the gravity of all that you've done. This wonderful reality, the best is yet to come.
Our next poem is from Jim. Jim chose this poem. He's very, very fond of it. He considers it to be one of the most moving poems written from World War I. Banjo Patterson, who wrote it, was it Light Horseman? It was attached to the Light Horseman, Banjo
Well, I've
Patterson?
read two stories about that.
Yeah, first of all you thought it was the ambulance corps, but then you read that it might have been the Light Horse Brigade. But in any event, Banjo Patterson was heavily involved with horses in World War I, and this poem that Jim is going to read to you is written from the point of view of the horses at the end of the ball.
The last parade of Andrew Patterson. And the reason I was talking about, I've read two versions of his war history. First one was with the ambulance corps, and the second one, which I only read the other day, was about a white horse. He was attached to the white horse in the mounting yard, and that to me would be the true story, because after reading this, I'd say this is what he wrote the poem about from the horse's point of view. The last parade. With never the sound of trumpet, with never a flag displayed, the last of the old campaigners lined up for their last parade. Weary they were and battered, shoeless and knocked about, and from under their ragged forelocks their hungry eyes looked out. And they watched as the old commander read out to the cheering men the nation's thanks and the orders to carry them home again. And the last of the old campaigners, sinewy, lean and spare, spoke for his hungry comrades. Have we not done our share? Starving and tired and thirsty, we limped on the blazing plain, and after a long night's picket, you saddled us up again. We froze on the wind-swept crotches when the frost lay snowy white, never a halt in the daytime, never a rest at night. We knew when the rifles rattled from the hillside bare and brown, and over our weary shoulders, we felt warm blood run down. As we turned for the stretching gallop, crushed to the earth with weight, we carried our riders through, perhaps sometimes too late. Over the seas you brought us, over the leagues of foam, and we have served you fairly. Will you not take us home? Home to the Hunter River, to the flats where the loosening grows, home where the Murrumbidgee runs white with the melted snows. This is a small thing, surely. Will you not give command that the last of the old campaigners go back to their native land? They looked at the grim commander, and never a sign he gave. Dismissed, and the last of the old campaigners moved off on the last parade.
Our next poem is from Michael. Michael told me that he intended to write a gritty courtroom drama, but instead this came out.
Poetic players problematically pondering precipitating Potts Point plumbing pipes. Written by Michael Barr. Hello, my name is Zachary Zugma. I'm part of a group of 26 wandering poetic players. We were recently on tour in the Badlands of Potts Point. One night at a dark, lonely hotel, we were besieged by a seemingly insurmountable plumbing problem. We expended enormous effort in resolving the matter. This is our story. It is entitled Poetic players problematically pondering, precipitating Potts Point plumbing pipes. Alley alliteration, alluringly alluded assonance. Accurately. Billy bias bit back belligerence, begrudgingly. Constantina consonants, cadence cascading, casually criticised, condescendingly. Dimitri dialogue, diplomatically demurred, divertingly. Emily epithet, eagerly embellished, empathically. Frank farce formed fabulously flamboyant felicitations, fleetingly. Geraldine genre, gibbered generously. Harrison hyperbole helped hugely. Ida irony imagined inventing incredibly informative investigations, interestingly. Jamie jargon, jaunty jocularity, jubilantly. Karen Keros kept kismet, kindly. Halui lingo listened, languidly. Michelle Metaphor mentioned maintenance, magnanimously. Nicholas narrative narrated negligence, negatively. Ophelia onomatopoeia observed ruse, offering ouch, obsequiously. Pop palindrome persistently portraying pathos, prattled pack, pep, pip, pop, pop, pleadingly. Queenie quest, quailing, quantified, questioningly. Reggie repetition, repeatedly repeated, repetitive, redundant. Stella Story said stop sarcastically. Tony Tautology tried technical talking technically. Urania understatement, understood, ultimately. Victor Verse, valuating, verified vociferously. Wendy Witt wondered why, whimsically. Xavier, xenoglossophobia, Xeroxed, xenodocularly. Yasmin Yap, yawning, yacked, yelped, yipped, yo-yoed, yieldingly. Zachary Zuma, zigzag, zanily, to the zenith of the problem and shouted, shouldn't we just turn off the tap?
The next poem I'm going to do, I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I think they'll become a horse if I don't, so I'm going to do it. I chose this poem because it's essentially about mindfulness, which is a huge part of my life, and finding the joy in the small, seemingly insignificant moments in your everyday life. It's called The Orange by Wendy Cope. At lunchtime, I bought a huge orange. The size of it made us all laugh. I peeled it and shared it with Robert and Dave. They got quarters and I got a half. And that orange, it made me so happy, as ordinary things often do. Just lately, the shopping, a walk in the park. This is peace and contentment. It's new. The rest of the day was quite easy. I did all the jobs on my list and enjoyed them and had some time over. I love you. I'm glad I exist. So next up is Chad. And Chad first discovered this poem through the books of Jim Haynes, who's a celebrator of all things Australiana. He's got a whole series of books about poetry, stories, strange things that happened in history, and he covers the whole gamut of Australiana. It was written in 1898, and Chad loved it upon hearing it. What he loves about it is that it's a typical Aussie bush story, and it involves sport, which is one of his great loves.
The poem is called How McDougall Topped the Score by Thomas E. Spencer, and as Christiane said, yes, written in 1898, so quite some time ago. A peaceful spot is Piper's Flat, and the folk that live around. They keep themselves by keeping sheep and turning up the ground. But the climate is erratic, and the consequences are the struggle with the elements is everlasting war. We plough and sow and harrow, and then we sit and pray for rain, and then we all get flooded out and have to start again. But the folk are now rejoicing like they ne'er rejoiced before, for we played Molongo at cricket, and McDougall topped the score. Now, Molongo were a cocky bunch, and they challenged us to play a single innings match for lunch, the losing team to pay. Now, we were not great guns at cricket, but we couldn't well say no. So we started into practice, and we let the reaping go. We scoured the flat for 10 miles round to muster up our men, but when the list was totalled, we could only number 10. Then up spoke Big Tim Brady. He was always slow to speak. And he said, what price McDougall, who lives down at Cooper's Creek? So we sent for old McDougall, and he stated in reply that he'd never played at cricket, but he'd half a mind to try. He couldn't come to practice, he was getting in his hay, but he guessed he could show the beggars from Molongo how to play. Now, McDougall was a Scotsman, and a canny one at that. So he started into practice with a paling for a bat. He got Mrs. Mack to bowl to him, but she couldn't run at all. So he trained his sheepdog Pincher how to scout and fetch the ball. Now, Pincher was no puppy. He was old and worn and grey, but he understood McDougall and accustomed to obey. When McDougall cried out, "Fetch it!" he would fetch it in a trice. But until the words were dropped, he would grip it like a vice. And each succeeding night they played until the light grew dim. Sometimes McDougall struck the ball, sometimes the ball struck him. Each time he struck, the ball would plough a furrow in the ground. And when he missed, the impetus could turn it 3 times round. Last, the fateful day arrived. It was there for all to see. Molongo bite the dust, or Piper's Flat knocked up a tree. Molongo's captain won the toss and sent his men to bat, and they gave some leather hunting to the men from Piper's Flat. When the ball sped where McDougall stood, firm planted in his track, he closed his eyes and turned him round and stopped it with his back. The high score was 22, the total 66, when Brady sent a Yorker down, which scattered Johnson's sticks. And then Piper's Flat went into bat for glory and renown, but like the grass before the scythe, our wickets tumbled down. 9 wickets down for 17. Do the math. With 50 more to win. Our captain heaved a heavy sigh. And he sent McDougall. £10 to 1, you lose it, cried a barracker from town. But McDougall said, I'll take it, man. And he plonked the money down. Then he girded up his moleskins in a self-reliant style, threw off his hat and boots, and faced the bowler with a smile. He held the bat the wrong way out, and Johnson, with a grin, stepped lightly to the bowling crease and sent a wobbler in. McDougall spooned it softly back, and Johnson waited there. But McDougall, crying, "Fetch it!" started running like a hare. "Victory!" shouted Malongo. "He's out as sure as eggs!" And then Pincher darted through the crowd and ran through Johnson's legs. He seized the ball like lightning and he ran behind a log. And McDougall kept on running while Malongo chased the dog. They chased him up, they chased him down, they chased him round, and then he darted through a slip rail as the scorer shouted, "10!" McDougall puffed, Malongo swore. Excitement was intense as the scorer marked down 20. Pincher cleared a barbed wire fence. "Head him off!" shrieked Malongo. "Brain the mongrel with a bat!" "Run it out, good old McDougall!" cried the men of Piper's Flat. And McDougall kept on jogging, and then Pincher doubled back, and the scorer marked down 40 as they raced across the track. McDougall's legs were going fast, and Malongo's breath was gone, but still Malongo chased the dog. McDougall struggled on, and when the scorer yelled out, 50! Then they knew the chase could cease, and McDougall gasped out, "Drop it!" as he dropped within his crease. And Pincher dropped the ball, and as instinctively he knew discretion was the wiser plan, he disappeared from view. And as Malongo's beaten men, exhausted, lay around, we raised McDougall shoulder high and bore him from the ground. We bore him to McInnes's, where lunch was ready laid, and we filled him full of whiskey punch, for which Malongo paid. We drank his health in bumpers, and we cheered him 3 times 3. And when Malongo got its breath, Malongo joined the spree. And the critics say they never saw a cricket match like that. When McDougall broke the record in the game at Piper's Flat, but the folk are jubilating like they never did before, for we played Malongo at cricket and McDougall topped the score.
Next up is Brian M. Brian Tommy doesn't like poetry very much, since he was forced to study the rhyme of the ancient mariner at school, which I think we can all identify. But growing up in a musical home, Brian realised that most songs are just poetry put to music.
Anyone Can Whistle by Stephen Sondheim. He wrote the poem and he thought it was pretty good, and then he wrote some music to go with it. Or it could have been the other way around. Anyone can whistle, that's what they say. Easy. Anyone can whistle any old day. Easy. It's oh so simple. Sit back, relax, let fly. Well, someone tell me why, oh why can't I can dance a tango, I can read Greek, ha, it's easy. I can slay a dragon any old week. Easy. What's hard is simple. What's natural comes hard. Maybe you could show me how to let go, lower my guard, learn to be free. Maybe when you whistle, whistle for me.
As if one Brian isn't enough. Brian J. Like Chad, Brian is a huge fan of Australian bush poetry, and he found this one in a heritage of Australian verse. It's not well known, but Brian thought it was very clever and very funny and decided to share it with us tonight. Did you want me to read it?
Grave Situation by Claude Morris. When I staggered away from my favourite pub, the night was dark and still, and I thought I'd take a shortcut home that led over Cemetery Hill. Now, I'm not a hero, as everyone knows, and I have no reckless trends, but ghosts and the like leave me cold, as it were. But spirits and I are old friends. I wobbled along through the cemetery gates, begging my legs to behave, and everything went pretty well, so I thought, till I fell down a newly dug grave. For a moment I thought I had landed in hell and ended my earthly career. I sniffed like a hound for the sulphurous fumes, expecting old Nick to appear. But reason returned, and I staggered erect, my prison so dark to survey, and I tested my bones for a fracture or two, but everything functioned okay. I then made a feeble attempt to get out, but it needed no more than a glance to tell me that in my condition, I hadn't a ghost of a chance. I reckoned I'd have a lay off for a while, and when I woke, sober and fit, I'd surely come up with a first-class idea that would get me up out of the pit. Just then, I could hear fast oncoming steps that seemed way too good to be true. But ere I could cooey or offer advice, in the grave there were suddenly two. Now it happened he fell in the grave's other end, with no one to cushion his fall. But he rose like a shot with a high-pitched yelp and attempted to scale up the wall. This chap was at pains to be up and away, as the capers he cut plainly told. He jumped, he scrambled, he jumped again, but his fingers and toes wouldn't hold. I hadn't yet spoken. I'd hardly a chance, the way he cavorted about, but I had to admire the way that he fought to sever all ties and get out. Of course, he believed there was nobody near. He thought he was there all alone. And I got the idea it had entered his head that the grave was becoming his own. I felt a bit sad for the poor little guy, now acting a little distraught. And I thought he'd relax if I gave him a drum. But he wasn't alone as he thought. So I walked up behind him and tapped on his back as he paused for another wild bid. "You can't make it, mate," I breathed in his ear. But by the Lord Harry, he did.
Our next poem is from Yolanda again. Yolanda wrote this poem quite a while ago when she was struck by the sad state the world was in and how so much was negative and horrible on the news. And now with the world the way it currently is, it seems even more relevant then than it now than it did then.
The poem is called An Anguished Tear.
Sorry,
He thought it was his turn.
that's better now, you're a hiccup.
An Anguished Tear by Yolanda Ippolito. Despair that we have lost our way. We've lost the art of love and play. A world caught up in greed and war. Unless we change, a world no more. The leaders shout from ivory tower, obsessed with their own need for power. Ears closed to rising voice of pain. The final goal that they can gain. Structured plans carried with stealth, obsessed with accumulating wealth. No thought is given to the poor, desperately knocking on their door. Children cry with hollow groan, living skeletons, skin and bone. Bodies strewn across a wasteland, price to pay on demand. Heavy feet through debris roam, families searching for a home. Violence now a worldwide flood, blackened ground sodden with blood. Money, religion and territory. Wars are fought for power and glory. Lessons not learned from the past. Dreams of future, fading fast. Today's truth laced with dishonesty. Human life, now a commodity. All around the stench of fear, encompassed in an anguished tear. Why can't we see with our heart before this world is torn apart?
And in our countdown now, we've got 3 to go, and our third one is from Sandra. This poem was written by Sandra for a college English assignment on rhyming couplets.
The Ugly Duckling by Sandra Archer. No longer did they love their boy, or so it seemed to him, for he was naughty yesterday and gave his hair a trim. With scissors large he hacked about until no hair had he. On looking in a mirror, found a sorry sight to see. His mother was in tears that night, his golden locks had gone. Whatever would the neighbours think on seeing little John? To save his folks' embarrassment, he packed a meagre swag containing all his favourite toys, all bundled in a rag. The ugly duckling left that night. A tear was in his eye. He did not know which way to go, and gave a mournful sigh. Next morning was a frightful fuss when John could not be found. They searched the streets both high and low. What was that on the ground? A tiny creature curled up tight, asphalt for a bed. He slept so soundly and did have a rag to warm his head. They gently took him in their arms and told him, "Don't despair, for we still love you, little John, although you have no hair."
Jim has got our second last poem. This one he told me tonight was written when he was in hospital in 2025, and it was an exercise of transforming a joke into a poem.
Husband's Lament. It's not written by Banjo, it's written by Jimbo. My wife woke up one night to find her husband not in bed. Went downstairs and found him sitting on the lounge instead. He was just sitting there, staring at the TV. He hadn't even turned it on. There was nothing there to see. She said, "What is wrong, dear? You're looking awfully sad." "Oh, I'm just reminiscing, thinking of your dad. Remember your father, the sheriff, found us fooling around? You were only 17, and he did something quite profound. He shoved a shotgun in my face, and what he said was for my ears. You will either marry her, or it's jail. 20 years. Why suddenly so nostalgic? Her thought she did convey. He wiped a tear from his cheek and said, "I'd have been out today."
Okay, and our final poem for the night is coming from Graham. Last December, Graham celebrated his 50th anniversary of arriving in Australia, and this poem was inspired by his first Christmas Eve here when he went into an Australian pub and really felt the contrast between back in the UK on Christmas Eve. The pub is overflowing with people, it's bustling, there's carolers, there's people, it's really, really busy and warm and bustling, and this was quite a different experience, and also quite a contrast to the way pub would be now.
Yes, yes. This is called Offside in the Sports Bar. Stepping inside the public bar, it's smoky as hell and hot as a spar. It's not my local, it's not my turf. They all look like yokels. They probably see me as worse. I only came in for a desperate piss. Scan the room for the door, I hope I don't miss. I know they know what I think, this shithouse place. I'll just buy a beer and be on my way. A packet of chips, a schooner of new, then man's got to do what a man's got to do. Fag ends in the trough and a vague smell of sick. From a stall comes a cough as I stare at their brick. Back in the bar, 12 terriers show sport, but only 2 women, the thin, tattooed sort. Then this human boulder with smokes up his sleeve looks over his shoulder when someone yells, "Dave, I've won the meat train. There's another one, Stu. Have a go, you might win it." Then he lifts from the tray a large plastic bag and chucks it my way. "Here, have a few snags." We're not what you'd call from the same social strata. but the ice has been broke, so we chat. It's the charter. We moan and we bitch, the usual stuff. My ex is a witch, his life's bloody rough. We're drinking with vigour, we match beer for beer. Talk turns to Steve's sons, one in jail, one's a career. 8 years in Long J, in Long Bay, but Dave's a survivor. He makes more now per day than he did as a driver. Another 2 beers, then Steve's on about Roy. He always was soft, real mummy's boy. But they both sort of came good in a true Aussie way. One bugger a convict and the other one gay. The ex went and left me when Davey was 3. She was sick of me drinking and being on my knees. Wasn't the leaving made me feel such a jerk, but the 6 months of cheating with the bloke at work. But it's all down to me. I just go with the flow, spit life in the eye and then trade blow for blow. It's not the cards that you dealt that matters, my friend. It's the way that you play them. That's what counts in the end. So we barged through the door and into this street, arms round each other, barely keeping our feet. Dry, cynical me and philosopher Steve, mates for 2 hours, slow Christmas Eve.